Hello, everyone. This is Coach Hall, and I'm with Karen Armstrong Coaching. I'm with Star Family Coaching. Today, we're going to talk about some issues that come up every time this time of year, which is getting our children to go back to school, what that does to us and what it does to our children, and what can we do to help alleviate some of these stresses that we have in our life this time of year. So, Karen, what are some of the top issues that you feel that come up this time of year?
Oh, well, there's lots of them, and they do reoccur from year to year. The way I see it is kind of big picture. There's the emotional, mental side of things, and then there's the actual physical components of going back to school. So, I think it's the mental, emotional ones that can take you from running on autopilot and out of control and a lot of stress and tension to consciously planning out and making that transition happen on a controlled basis. So, the kids are going from having all this freedom to, structure, and from having fun to responsibility. And that's a hard thing to do. So I guess starting off with having talks as a family, or just bringing up the topic and kind of getting the idea out there.
Right. I think it would be important because the children don't really understand time as well as we do. They just kind of think that they're on vacation forever.
Yeah.
And suddenly one day they're going to school. But parents were a little more savvy. We kind of know that these things are starting to happen. In fact, we're probably getting some notifications from the school at some point that we need some supplies or whatever. So it would be a good idea for us to be mentally prepared before we even think about getting the children involved. So if you're in a co-parenting situation, you want to both of you sit down and go, okay, it's happening again. What do we got to do? Let's try to create some kind of plan or strategy. Because as you said, this is a huge transition, and it's a physical transition, and it's a mental transition, and it can certainly be an emotional one for the children as well as the parents. We're going to be stressed out. Are there any particular things that you can think of that may be on the top of the list of concerns that parents might have as we think about going back to school?
Yeah, in no particular order. I kind of did a list, and there's all the shopping. There's the clothes shopping, there's the supply shopping, and the grocery shopping. It takes a lot to get set up and stocked up for school again. And that could be very stressful, especially if you're dragging the kids along. So they're so used to being outside playing, riding their bikes, being with their friends. And now you're trying to drag them along to get this done and on a quick, as quickly as you can. And I don't know about your experience, but for me, it never goes all that smooth.
No, and there's the other element that I faced, at least in the school circuit that I've been a part of, is that the school will send out this giant list of all these supplies that we need. And you go out and buy it, and you spend a couple $100s or whatever, and then you show up the first day of school, and the teacher goes, well, we don't need half of that stuff. I've got a brand new list for you. And you're just ready to pull your hair out. So yeah. These are things that we're going to have to deal with. And we don't want to transfer that stress to our children, because they're going to have their own issues to deal with. They're going to have to physically actually go and sit in a place and perhaps meet a teacher for the first time, and there's going to be these other people around them, and maybe they don't know all these kids, and so they're going to have their own issues, and we need to be mindful of all that. But yeah, I had a few horror stories when it comes to clothing, especially with schools that require uniforms, and then everybody wants to buy uniforms at the same time, and you go to the outlet or the supply house, and of course they don't have what you need. So just plan ahead, know in advance that it's going to happen. And if you're in a part of the world, say in Europe, where you're not going to start until September, go out and get those clothes now while you can still get them.
Yeah, for sure. And, same with the school supplies. You have the list of what you need. And when you go out to get it, you hope you could get it all at Walmart. That never happens. There's always, then you got to go to a different store. Like here, it would be Staples, and you got to shop around. So I guess building the mindset and the intention when you go out shopping, no matter whether it's the groceries, the clothes, or the supplies, is, the instant reaction is going to be to try to get it done as quick as possible. The reality is the stores are going to be full and there's going to be, things that are sold out, right? So I guess taking that step back before you head out and making it a day, or, like overestimating the time it will take versus setting okay, I just want to be in and out in an hour, right? And I think that'll really make a big difference in your experience.
Yeah, you have to be realistic, and let's not forget to take advantage of the internet. You can buy a lot of these supplies online and have them delivered to you.
Yeah.
So that's just another option. That's one that we've really have taken advantage of in the last few years. In fact, we do all of our grocery shopping pretty much online anymore. So yeah, the long lines, you have to be patient. Like you said, instead of trying to force everything to happen within a 2-hour time frame or whatever, you need to be going in open-minded and just assume that, hey, this may take a whole afternoon or may spill into a few days. So I think that's great advice.
And doing it ahead too, like not leaving it to last minute. And I just thought of one more thing is like even planning a really nice lunch or kind of a treat, maybe a glass of wine if you're into that, or, something in the middle. So it's not all just stress and busy.
Yeah, that's a great idea too. And get your children involved, have them help. They can pick out some of their clothing. They can try some clothes on while you're, out finding more things. They can, so, have them actively involved so that they're not just getting antsy waiting for you to buy everything and they're going to run around the store and get into trouble or whatever. So make them a part of the process. That's going to help them become independent as well. So those are just some ideas that we can do. I've raised 4 kids. I got 2 more still in high school. One's entering high school this year and one's graduating. Will graduate this year. And so I've been through this a number of times. I'm about done with it, actually.
Well, I find with my boys, and I've started some shopping and I took them out once and I have to rethink the way I'm going to do the rest of it. But they're so used to playing games and they're so used to having fun. They don't want to do it. So when I take them out, they're picking at each other and bugging each other and agitating each other for entertainment, I guess, is what I think. But it's incredibly frustrating because, again, I want to get in and get out. So another strategy I'm thinking of trying out is taking my older son and just doing his shopping. So it's all focused on him. And then at a separate time, taking my younger son and doing the shop with him. And who knows, as I'm saying it now, I just thought maybe I'll do that nice lunch with each of them. So have a nice lunch with him and talk about school. Like, hey, buddy, what are your thoughts? Like, are you excited or are you dreading it? What's going on? And kind of let them have that emotional release and that self-awareness of what they're feeling. Because when they go straight into school, it's this big change. And generally, they're not very consciously aware of what they're feeling and how to process it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Get a little quality time with them, get to touch base with them on an emotional level because they are going to be feeling things. And we need to have that open communication with them and connect words with feelings whenever possible. And when they're actually beginning to touch the items that they're going to be using in the future, I think that's going to bring forth some feelings that they've had in the past. And it'll be a good time to have a great talk. And if you can throw in a little break in the middle of the, go for a burger or sandwich or something and, break it up a little bit, it can make for a nice outing. So you can take a stressful situation and turn it into something that's actually quite pleasant.
Exactly. By planning it in advance.
Yeah. A couple of other issues that we might be concerned with as parents that are going to definitely impact us. One I was thinking about is the drop-off line. When you drop your child off from school, the first couple of days, it could be quite nerve-wracking on so many levels. Number one, just the idea of releasing them to the school. If it's a school you're not familiar with, it's your first time going to that school, or if they're going to a new grade and the system's a little bit different, they're going to feel anxious and you're going to feel anxious as a parent. You don't know what's going to happen. You want to trust the system. You want to trust that everything's going to go well for them. And sometimes you're wearing that fear in your face and your children are going to pick up on it and they're going to go in not feeling as comfortable as they should. So in that case, the first few days, I would say do a little mental preparation, and you got to fake it till you make it. Wear that smile on your face, even if you don't want to wear the smile on your face, and send them off with grace and kindness, and be very patient. And just like Karen had suggested with the shopping, anticipate a little extra time. You know, it might not be a 30-minute drop off. You know, there's always traffic, especially in the beginning when the school monitors and the road monitors are just trying to figure out what's going on. They're not going to be experts at what they're doing quite yet. So the flow is going to be kind of slow and staccato, I guess, and just fragmented. So be a little patient, be prepared for it. And if you can, early on, try to create a buddy system. You know, if you got some neighbors, you know, maybe swap off, I'll pick up, you drop off type of thing. And that'll take some of the stress off of you, and you can make friends that way. And, you know, these are just some of the things that I've personally experienced. And I know that it helps a lot with some of the burden that we feel of having to do this, because it is a bit of a burden. They got to get to school, and we have to figure out how to get them to school. And so that's just one of the issues that may come up.
Yeah, for sure. Another issue that I'm totally dreading is that whole structured routine, but definitely worth putting the work in to have it. So there's morning routines, and then there's the after school routine, and then there's the bedtime routine. So lots of routine, lots of structure. The mornings are going to be tough. The kids are staying up late. They want to sleep in. They want to have special made breakfast. They want to play on their games and see their friends. So the whole getting them to that 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. wake up is going to be difficult. And, you know, so planning ahead of time, and even though they're not going to want to go to bed earlier than midnight on the weekend before, you know, is really being stern and getting them into a proper bedtime. Even the week before, during the week, trying to like slowly pare it back so that they're still getting the proper amount of sleep. And then deciding whether or not they're old enough to set their own alarms and wake themselves up. Are they responsible for getting up, getting dressed, making their bed, brushing their teeth, and then coming down for breakfast? Or, you know, how's that going to work in your household? And then after school, do they get playtime right after, or should you jump into homework and get it done first? What does that look like? What kind of activities do they have when school starts? Do sports start right away? And planning all that out. Who's going to drive? Do you got a carpool? And then finally, bedtime. That's going to be the hardest one, especially like in Canada, it's still nice and light out. In the winter, it's easier to put kids to bed earlier when it's dark because it feels like it's bedtime, but now it doesn't. So again, setting those standards and I guess the mindset's important too, because it's going to take a lot of patience for that one. That's going to be the hardest one.
I'm kind of sensing a common theme here that we got to do a little planning.
Yeah, planning
Right?
and mindset. Planning and mindset.
Yeah. So all these issues are going to require a mindset that's you know, positive, and you know, just being prepared and knowing that even if we have all of our plans in place, there's a good chance that there's going to be these unknown things that are going to come, and so we just need to carve out a few extra minutes each day and add that into what we would normally call a schedule, and just prepare for it. You know, you could get there the first day and suddenly that everybody wants a school meeting, and now you're going to be late for work and you can't contact your employer or whatever. And these are just headaches that are going to happen in the beginning. And so, but be mindful of it. I think we're going to be able to handle things if we're a little more prepared for it, and we know these things are going to come up versus just getting hit on the side of the head with it, and then having to react, which isn't what we want to do. If we're trying to be in control of our minds, we want to be mindfully strong, if you will.
Yeah, no, I fully agree.
I have another area I think that is very important that's going to happen. There's a good chance that you're going to get sick. Your kid's going to go to school, and the kid next to him is going to start coughing and sneezing, and next thing you know, everybody's got the flu. And this is the time of year it happens. a year has not gone by that someone in my family doesn't get sick in September or October. It's just everybody's coming back from holiday and, you know, their vacations, and everybody's in close proximity, and, you know, these things jump around, and, you know, they're airborne, a lot of this stuff. And so you're going to have to be prepared for the fact that you're going to have some sick children on your hand, and you may get sick as well, which adds to stress in life. You know, it's hard to be mindfully strong when you're just not feeling well, you know. So just, again, preparation and mindset. I think that's the common theme here. Just know that these things are going to happen. Be ready for it. Have the Robitussin or the whatever your remedies are at home. Have them, you know, ready. Go to CVS or whatever your pharmaceutical store is and get all the supplies ready, because the day's coming, people. You're going to have to, you know, stay up one night and doctor your child and take their temperature and, you know, do a little nurturing. So that's just something to keep mindful of.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happens. The kids go to bed, then you do all your work, exhausted. You lay down in bed, nicely fall asleep, and it's, Mom, I don't feel good. And everything's closed, you know, or it's the middle of the night. So I love that idea. I've never really thought of that. And that actually happened to me, about a month and a half ago. And it's like, sorry, dude, it's like 2:00 in the morning. I can't get anything, you know? Yeah, so that was actually a really good one. But on the note of health, knowing that you're going to be exposed to these different viruses, the one proactive thing you can do is focus on building up your immune system.
Yeah.
So without getting into too much detail, there are things like probiotics, eating healthy, proper hydration, proper sleep levels, you know, multivitamins. And that's just a good strategy year round, not even just start of school, but knowing that it's coming up, it's a great time to, you know, maybe it's a better motivator to actually get on it. And that kind of ties into the other issue that comes with school again, is having to make lunches. It is incredibly frustrating trying to think of different things, exciting things, tasty things, healthy things, finding that balance where the kids are going to eat it and they're being actually properly nourished in the process, and having it all planned in advance and fresh.
Yeah, that is a real challenge, especially in the world that we live in today, where everything is processed and packaged. And, you know, we're doing our best to read all these labels, but, you know, the food industry has tricked us with some of the terminology. You know, like something like grass-fed doesn't necessarily mean that they've been fully grass-fed. That just means they've had one meal of grass, and then the rest of the day they're stuffing them with corn. So you have to look for terms like grass-fed and grass-finished these days. So, and, you know, another year from now they'll trick us again. So trying to stay organic and healthy can be quite challenging. And these types of foods, because they're raw and fresh, they don't preserve as well. And so you have to go to the grocery store more often. You can't just go like once a month and stockpile the refrigerator and all the cabinets with this stuff, because otherwise the only foods that you can get are these processed foods, because that's the only thing that'll last that long, and it's really not that healthy for your children. So
yeah, there's a lot of packaged snacks, and it's easy, especially with the kids. Some people have their kids make their lunch, go to the cupboard and just grab, you know, cheese sticks and you know, a little cup of fruit and granola bars and fruit roll-ups. And it's just all processed. I call it garbage, but that might be extreme. You know, that's not real food. Real food grows in the ground, or it comes from a animal, right? To me. So what I do with my lunches is with the kids is vegetables and fruit, 2 fruits, a bag of veggies, and then the main part is like a sandwich or a soup, or, you know, some leftovers, and then maybe a granola bar or a homemade muffin, some kind of a snack. But to give your kids fresh vegetables and some of the fruits, it takes time that we don't always have in the morning. So a really good system that I implemented is on Sunday nights, I wash up a whole big container of veggies, so that at night you could just take a container or a Ziploc bag and just, you know, make up the bag. And it's easy to bring in variety, because you can do a mixed veggie one day, or just tomatoes, or just carrots, so they don't feel like they're always eating the same thing.
Right.
And same with the fruit, is to just have different types of fruit on hand and then mix them up.
Yeah, and it's a good idea to really pay attention, at least in the beginning, of portions, uh, how much you're using, and not pay attention to this, because when you go to the store, you're going to overbuy or underbuy. If you start thinking about portions over time, you can create a system, like you're saying, on a Sunday night. You can chop up all the veggies. You can stick them in plastic bags or in Tupperware or whatever you use to store things with. And in that way, during the week, you don't have to spend so much time guessing and maybe having to go to the store, and because you've run out of this and that. So in the beginning, part of the transition is going to be paying attention to, this process of how much, how many fruits and vegetables that you're buying, and make a mental note of, or actually physically write it down. So, well, we used 7 apples this week, maybe, and it wasn't enough. We need 10 next time. So you just be practical about it, and over time, by the time October rolls around, you'll have a nice, very effective system, and your day will go smooth, the week will go smooth. And the other thing I would add is get your children involved with the whole lunch making process. Have them make the lunch, have them pack the lunch, show them how to wash the vegetables, and how to slice up an apple or peel an orange, and all these sorts of things, and have them stick the things in the containers. So these are life skills that they need to learn anyway. So we might as well do our part in teaching them life skills while they're going to get their academic skills from our educational systems, and just make that part of the process and make it fun. And once they learn how to do it pretty well, then guess what? Some of that job is lifted off your shoulders. You got a little extra time to do some of these many, many other things that you're going to have to do during this transition period of going from summer to back to school.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's many, many topics, and Karen and I could probably go on for hours and hours and hours. I think I'd like to touch on maybe on one other one, which, I mean, for me, and Karen, you can bring up another if you like. I think the big issue that I see happen every year is homework. The homework thing can be a real challenge. When to do it, how involved should the parent be in doing the homework? I know a lot of parents end up doing the homework for their children, and that's not really going to help the child learn anything if you're doing all their work for them, especially with like science projects. I've been in these contests, and I know there's no way that a child created that rocket ship. I mean, that ain't happening. And I know the dad's an astrophysicist, and he's got building materials and stuff. I'm like, whoa, there's something wrong here. So homework is a big issue. You need to carve out a place in your home where this is where you do your homework. There are different schools of thoughts when it comes to when you should actually do homework. I'm kind of in favor of when a child gets home, give them at least a half-hour wind down time, just to get them, to talk about their day, and then get them in that designated place and get them on the homework. You don't want to go hours and hours, because then they may forget what was happening at school and struggle with it a little bit more. But about a half hour, so they can unwind and get relaxed a little bit without wanting to get caught up into a TV program or something like that, just so they can relax and you can have a little one-on-one time if you're around at that time to talk with them about their day. And then homework is their homework. It's not your homework. That's all I have to say about that. If they're having trouble with it, get a tutor. A lot of schools will have after school assistant care in that regard. They'll have tutors available, some teachers. If you talk to the teacher, they'll make some extra time, maybe have an extra class or whatever. I found that if you have an open dialogue with a teacher and they know that you're a caring parent, they'll bend over backwards to help your child. If you blow off the teacher or you treat them in a disrespectful manner, or blame the teacher for the child not understanding things and have that sort of mindset, the person that's going to feel the brunt of that is going to be your child. And we want the teacher on our side, and we certainly want them on our child's side. So try to create a nice bond with the teacher and talk about homework issues. If they have a place at school where they can do homework after school, sometimes that helps. I mean, I used to do that actually when I was going to school. What helped me with homework is having a place in the school, and I just go do the homework there, and then I didn't even have to bring it home. So don't feel trapped by the homework issue. That, you know, just understand that there are a lot of options available, and just keep in mind homework is their work and not your work.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do have one more, and it's a big one, so I can't go without acknowledging it, is the change in screen time and the electronic use.
Yes.
So I know with my boys, they love playing games, and now that, you know, with Wi-Fi, they're connected to with different friends in different places, and that's going to change, and it has to change. They're going to be in school, and then they're going to have to come home, and they can't get started on that because they sure don't want to stop before their homework, then their homework, nighttime activities and such. So the screen time needs to come down, especially during the week. And I know that usually involves a lot of tension in my home with my boys when I have to do that. So planning ahead, making kind of a strategy, narrowing it down. I'm still one of those moms who acknowledges that it's damaging to their development to be on these devices. So they do already have more of a limited timeline than potentially other kids do, but it's still more than what can be done during the school week. So I'm going to have to sit down and actually plan that out and have these conversations and deal with the mini meltdowns prior to school starting. It's hard for them. Like, they're so used to all this excitement and, you know, like when they're done, they're kind of bored with one game, move on to the next, right? And now they're going to school and they have to sit in a chair, and they're 10 and 14. So they're old enough where, you know, it's not like kindergarten where you can get up and run around and it's okay. Like, they need to sit there and listen. So it's going to be an adjustment.
Yeah, and a lot of schools are actually bringing technology into the classroom. In fact, my brother-in-law is like worked for Apple for a while, and he's a consultant in that field. And so a lot of the applications that he works with have to do with you know, tablets and things like that. That usually right now it's more or less at the high school level, but it's starting to sink down into lower levels of education, where these kids are doing a lot of their class work activity on these devices, and because that's the future. But unfortunately, there's what's coming off the screen is damaging to our eyes. If we're spending too many hours with screen time, and then we're looking at our smartphones, and then we're staring at TV sets and computers, and it's just, we're getting it all the time from everywhere. And I'm absolutely in agreement with you, Karen, that we have to do a better job in parenting when it comes to the amount of time that they're spending with these devices. I wouldn't suggest that we remove everything from them, because I don't think that's practical, but we could put some time on it. So okay, you got a half hour to play whatever game you want to play, but at 6 o'clock it goes off and we move on to the next thing that we're going to do today. And yeah, they're going to fight about it a little bit and be upset that well, I'm used to playing for 3 hours. Well, okay, we may visit 3 hours again sometime in the future, but that's not going to happen at least until the summertime. What we're going to do right now is we're going to do the half-hour program, because you've got all these other things to do. And is there any way that you can tell me how we're going to get all these things done without giving up some screen time? And so if you start bringing them into the conversation, and have it in such a way that they're negotiating maybe some of this time, and maybe you can be flexible. If you can say, okay, here's what we're going to do. If you can show me over the course of the next 2 weeks that you can get all your homework done and you can do all your chores and everything's okay, I'll extend that time to 45 minutes or up to an hour. Okay, how's that sound? Okay, so we can be flexible with the amount of time that we want to give them with the screen, but overall, yeah, there's too much of it, and we need to be, doing a better job of limiting how much it is. And not only that, but just the content that they're getting. I mean, these kids are accessing things that we don't. It's kind of frightening in some ways. We're hoping that they're playing the video games, but they could be on, Snapchat or one of these other live type of social media platforms, and God only knows who's on the other side of the line that they're talking to. And I've heard a number of horror stories, and we don't want to go down that path if we can avoid it. So
yeah, there's a lot of restrictions you could do too, like there's parental control things on the devices. But aside from that, I wanted to share 2 tips, because when you actually pare down their time, for my experience, it's constant negotiating and begging, and it's a lot of emotional drainage. And so last year I tried an app called Screen Time, and it worked in the beginning. It's where you can use your device to set when they have permission to use theirs. The problem is my older son went online and Googled, and there's ways around everything. So then he ended up figuring a way around it. Then the younger one was mad because his was figured out. And I mean, it ended up being a mess, right? Another really, really good one, even better, is depending on your internet provider. But mine, you can go in to the settings and it'll show you which devices in your home are using Wi-Fi, and you can set time parameters right there. So it literally zaps the Wi-Fi. And a lot of the games now that, well, at least my kids really enjoy, are on Wi-Fi. So that doesn't fix the ones that are just on their phone, but I think most of the games nowadays are on Wi-Fi. So that helps too.
Those are great tips. Yeah, I've heard of things like that. And, as technology advances, we're going to get more and more control. I know that there's another type of router type system or something you can plug into the router that I think it's by Disney or Apple. I can't remember at the top of my head, but basically it gives the parent or whoever's, the owner, all the analytical data in real time, who's on what site.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you would get a notification if you've flagged a few sites that you don't want your children on, and it'll tell you, boom, so such and such device is on this website right now. And so you can go right then and there and put a stop to it. And I think I'll have to look it up and I'll post it here below when I find it, but I think it's about $100 or something like that. I think Apple makes it, but I'll verify that, and I'll put the information below. Is there anything else that you want to cover?
No, after talking about that, I think that's such a hot topic. We can do another talk on that alone, one on electronics.
Yeah, how to protect our kids from the internet and things like that. That's a great topic.
And how to limit it and keep it healthy. Find that balance. Excellent. Yeah, no, those are the big items for me. So those are going to be what I'm focusing on.
Okay, super. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank Karen with Karen Armstrong Coaching. I'm Coach Hall with Star Family Coaching. If you have any questions or comments, please look below and go ahead and type us some feedback and tell us what you think about this conversation. And if you want to join in, we'll continue the conversation down there, and perhaps later we'll turn it into another one of these video talks. Okay, until then, we'll see you guys later and wish you the best of luck.
Sounds great. Thanks.